This is Michael Scott Moore, an American journalist who was on a mission to report about real-life Somali pirates. However, Michael failed to realize how dangerous and powerful these pirates are. For 2.5 years, he was held captive by Somali pirates, and his security was beaten right in front of his eyes. Despite the US Navy's constant efforts to rescue him from their shackles, the pirates were intelligent enough to hide him from their radar. Sometimes they hid him in an abandoned ship, and sometimes he was extracted to unknown location with guns pointing right on his face. The biggest question that arises is how he managed to escape from hell and share his story with the world. Most importantly, how did he manage to arrange for the $20 million that the pirates demanded to free his life? Michael's story also revealed how pirate bosses run their business, and where else they operate after they leave this business. To answer all these questions, let's rewind back to early 2012 when Michael boarded a flight to Somalia with his cameraman from India. The reason behind this mission was deeply connected with a case in 2010 when 10 Somali pirates attempted to hijack a German cargo ship in the Gulf of Aden, which is considered one of the world's busiest shipping routes. But before pirates took over the entire ship, they were captured by Dutch commandos and were handed over to Germany for a trial. After they were sentenced to 7 years in prison, a statement from one of the pirates touched Michael. They said, "Our country is broken. We are not pirates." The statement encouraged Michael to explore their country and create a documentary on why Somali pirates are forced to take such actions. However, the moment his plane landed in Somalia, he never imagined what was about to happen next. According to Michael, the plan was to interview a couple of pirates, ask some questions, and return back home in 10 days. Luckily, everything went according to plan. Michael hired a Somali elder, Sahal Gerlek, who used to live in Berlin but had good relations with some of the Somali pirates' bosses. Moreover, Sahal also had a history of helping other journalists interview pirates and arrange security for their extraction. But when Michael and his cameraman reached Ohio City to interview a pirate boss called Mustaf Sheikh, something big was waiting for him. A problem that wasn't apparent right away. Michael is a dual citizen. He lives in Berlin but was born in Los Angeles. For Michael, this dual citizenship could be a great advantage, but for Somali pirates, Michael is a jackpot to earn millions of dollars. Because pirates only look for citizens or ships that belong to powerful countries. As the currency of such countries has a higher value of their economy, asking for a few $1,000,000 to release their citizens can take care of the annual expenses of the pirates. And this is where Michael comes into the picture. While interviewing pirate boss, the rest of the pirates were looking at their next big bounty instead of answering his questions. Nevertheless, the pirate boss Mustaf openly stated that they are at war with the Western countries as they have exploited their fishing industry and destroyed their coral reefs. Statistically speaking, he was right, because Somalia's coast has enormous fishing potential where expensive fish like tuna and their species are heavily found. However, since the civil war in the 1990s, Somalia has failed to maintain its navy, which allowed foreign ships to exploit their fishing capacity on a massive scale. This, in return, forced local people to save their economy by forming their own pirate groups. And Michael was their next step to steal back from the countries that once stole their assets. After 10 days of shooting and interviewing different pirates, Michael was heading back to his hotel to prepare for his flight back home. But before he could reach his hotel, a pickup truck in the middle of a dusty road blocked their path by pointing a heavy gun at their vehicle. Within a few minutes, pirates dominated Michael's gunman and broke Michael's wrist while forcing him to pull out of the vehicle. At first, Michael thought that there was some issue with his passport, so he began showing it with the hope that they would let him go. But when one of the men covered his eyes and took him to an unknown location, Michael's nightmare came true. This was the last image shared by the cameraman before he was kidnapped. After hours of driving with unknown gunmen sitting beside him, they finally took him to a dirty house. And when they removed the cover from his eyes, there were guns pointing right at his face. To ease his hunger, the pirates gave him a piece of bread, tuna, and a bottle of water. However, inside Michael's mind, danger dangerous thoughts were shooting in all directions. Specifically speaking, while having his food, he was planning how he could steal one of the pirates' guns and shoot his way out. But as easy as it feels, Michael had no experience tackling this situation. A few moments later, one of the pirates pushed Michael inside a thick bush, behind which he saw their boss by the name of Mohammed Garfanji. Suddenly, they handed Michael a phone, and a negotiation was already going on with an American official and his family. Garfanji ordered Michael to demand $20 million to free himself. Unfortunately, there was no possibility of arranging this amount. The only option that was left was to take the support of the US Navy SEALs and rescue Michael at night. However, this is where the situation became worse. A few days back, US Navy SEALs rescued 2 hostages, during which around 9 Somali pirates were killed. As this incident already enraged the rest of the pirates, they warned Michael by stating, "If Americans arrive again, we will shoot you before they rescue you." For the next 2.5 years, the pirates constantly changed Michael's location to ensure the US Navy SEALs could not track his whereabouts. Within that time, Michael tried his best to get through.
Sometimes in Somalia I could do yoga, sometimes I could write in a journal, sometimes I could listen to the radio, but sometimes I couldn't do any of those things. In fact, I went for a year and a half with no radio and no notebook. And just sitting with nothing to do in a baking prison house like that is enough to drive you insane.
He also ate meals with the pirates and even got along well with some of them. Nonetheless, one day Michael was transferred to an abandoned ship where he met a group of other hostages. However, the support of other hostages was not enough because the pirates were adamant about their demands.
So that night I made a plan to actually get off the ship under my own power. I wound up getting escorted down to the deck by a Somali who didn't even have his weapon. I thought it's now or never. And I jumped, and I had paid attention to the direction of the wave. And I swam with that to get away from the ship as quickly as I could, thinking they would shoot at me. And nobody fired a shot. Thought that if I could get away from the ship, that I could be rescued somehow, or else make it to land. I mean, we were only a mile from land. But to my surprise, the pilot of the ship actually let it drift back on that swell. Eventually, I had to give up.
On the other hand, after being dragged to different locations for months, Michael's level of frustration reached a stage where he could steal a pirate's gun to save his life. But before he could take that action, on the morning of September 23rd, 2014, a young Somali pirate with a gun wakes Michael and tells him he is free to go. At first, Michael could not believe his words, but after being allowed a flight back home, he was informed that his family, in collaboration with US and German institutions, had paid $1.6 million to free Michael. Luckily, the pirates agreed with the price. For months, Michael could not believe he survived this incident, but after his fellow hostages were released from his efforts, he decided to share his story with the world. It is also very probable that there are more people being held captive that we may not know about. Michael's story is fascinating and terrifying at the same time. It's more than honorable how far he went just to discover the truth. However, the price of the truth was higher than anyone could have imagined.
In general, going to crisis regions like this is still something that has to be done. I mean, otherwise you don't get a clear picture of what's going on. That's a responsibility the journalist has to take, and it was a complete failure from my point of view.
If you enjoy stories like this one, you might also like the channel Just Dark. It's run by the editor who worked on this video. The content on his channel is even a bit stronger and darker. You can find the link to his channel in the description or right now on the screen. If it's something you'd be interested in, definitely subscribe.